Thank you, members, and apologies for the start of the meeting. Just having some slight IT issues, and there's some feedback there. I wonder if anybody. But welcome back, members, and members of the public listening. Hope you had a nice Christmas, and we'll get kicked off now. I'll start off with a notice and summons of the meeting. Members, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the Planning Committee, which will be held as a hybrid, socially distanced meeting to be conducted remotely via WebEx and also physically in the Guildhall Chamber, Derry City, on Wednesday, 10th of January 2024 at 2 p.m. And I'll ask Maura to take members' attendance and apologies. Thank you, Maura.
Thank you, Chair. Members, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the Planning Committee, which is a hybrid meeting to be conducted remotely via WebEx and also physically in the Guildhall Chamber on Wednesday, the 10th, 2024 at 2 p.m. Alderman Derek Hussey. Thank you. Alderman Keith Kerrigan. Alderman Kerrigan. He's online. Keith Kerrigan. Come back. Alderman Neary McMorris. No. Councillor Jason Barr sent his apologies. Councillor John Boyle.
Online, Maura.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Fleming.
And Shaw.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Gallagher.
Shaw.
Thank you. Councillor Christopher Jackson. Thank you. Councillor Fergal Leonard.
And Shaw.
Thank you. Councillor Catherine McDade.
Apologies from Councillor McDade.
Thank you. Councillor Rory McKee.
And Shaw.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Minnie.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick Murphy. Thank you. And Councillor Grace O'Neillis. Thank you. Just go back and check. Alderman Keith Kerrigan. He's online, but maybe not here in his chair. And Alderman Neary McMorris. No. Okay, thank you. That's it, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Maura. I'm going to item 3, members. I'm going to read the broadcasting statement in relation to the hybrid meeting. I'd like to remind everyone present at this meeting in the chamber or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and improved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight the request to speak. A copy of the council privacy notice may be found on the council website. Number 4, members' declarations of members' interest. I can take those now or during the currency of the meeting. Thank you, members. Item 5, going into chairperson's business. Members, I have a couple of items of business, and number 1, I was contacted by Councillor Fergal Leonard about an issue he wants to raise. So, Councillor Leonard, go ahead there.
Go ahead, Chair. Thank you, Chair. It's in relation to the role of NIEA, their consultation role about providing advice about ammonia. There are a number of applications outstanding within our council area, and they're being held up basically because of this delay that there is from NIEA. And they sent out correspondence to say that they'll only be dealing with these on a case-by-case basis going forward. And my question is, would it be possible to contact NIEA? And I know that the correspondence is sent out to council allows for this. Do you ask them to explain the urgency, because a lot of these farmers are out hundreds of thousands of pounds, causing them huge financial loss and stress to the farmers and their families that this hold up through no fault of their own, and to be to be fair, no fault of the council officers as well. If council could write them, ask them, I think it's only 6 cases. If they could ask for information on those 6 cases, when is their expectation date? And if possible, could council, like on a goodwill nature, inform these applicants as to the current status of their application, what the hold up is due. And I know you couldn't write out to every applicant, I understand that, but on this particular occasion, it's nobody's fault here in council. Do you know what I mean? It's an external body that is holding up the thing. So that'll be fair enough.
Okay, Councillor Leonard. I see Alderman Hussey wants to come on as well. Do you want to come on now, Derek, and then we can deal with it?
Yeah, just very briefly, 100% endorse what has just been said. It's been a bone of contention, as officers know, Maura knows, with external consultees, whether it be NIEA, whether it be road service, rivers agent, or any of those consultees. The turnaround time of their responses is absolutely atrocious and is holding up development in this council area, and I'm sure others, and it has to be addressed.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. I'm going to bring Maura on now. She can.
Thank you, Chair. So firstly, members, I have circulated a recent letter from NIA, from the Director, Mark Hammond, updating us specifically on the issue of consultation about agricultural developments and this ammonia issue. You'll all be aware there is a long-standing context around that which members will have been updated on in the last few years. So our position at the minute is they had paused the standing advice that they had been previously given us. They're now basically advising that they're going to start looking at each application in its own merits. You all are aware there was a previous current investigation with OEP, which you would have been updated on previously as well. So what we will do is we propose to review the cases that we've got in the system that were subject to this hold, and we will reconsult NIA and seek urgent response. And more than happy to do a draft with the chair to send to Mark Hammond about the general delays and the issue in regards to that, and in particular overall, the number of consultee delays. And I suppose I would also like to reassure members that the head of planning working group that I sit on, I'm now the chair, and we have had actually a deputation come to the last meeting in December because we had asked for them to attend because of our concern generally about the delays in consultations. And we are engaging with them, and we're proposing to write to Mark Hammond also ourselves in regard to specific aspects, including in general engagement as well as the delays to consultation. So hopefully that'll reassure members on a strategic level that a lot of the heads of planning are also concerned. Thanks.
Ms. Leonard, yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Maura. And that, hopefully that will be a help to raise the matter with NIA. Just would it be possible to write to the applicants concerned as well to inform them of the status and what you are doing to reassure those also? Yeah,
that's no problem. We'll write out and explain the status and the position and let them know that we're reconsulting NIA, and we'll keep them updated then should we get a further response.
That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Hussey, come on there.
Subsequent to that, as alluded to there, it can be an ongoing problem with various external consultees. What is the legal position of us as a planning committee if an external consultee is delaying and dallying and not bringing us back the consultation that is required? Can we legally go ahead and make a decision on an application?
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. I'll bring on our legal services here, Mr. Kingston. Thank you.
I'm pleased to say that the answer to that one probably requires about a 5,000-word essay. Yes is the simple answer to the question. We have a duty to consult. We can't compel a response from the consultee. However, The duty to consult rests in the fact that we need the information that the consultee can get us. So if the consultee doesn't provide us with that information, effectively we have to satisfy ourselves of the position by other means. And in certain circumstances, that is to all intents and purposes. Question then becomes whether or not the council has to take alternative action in order to compel a response from the statutory consultee. Each one of those depends on an intricate number of factors, I'm afraid, so there's no simple answer to your question.
Thank you, Philip. Alderman Hussey, are you content with that explanation? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Phil.
All right, members, I'm going to bring in Maura here for all our items of business. I think we've got 3 items here, and Maura's going to speak on the lead items, and then the update on the boundary posts, mostly in Buncana Road, and then on one particular discrete issue, next to number 8 on the medical issue. Okay, thank you, Maura.
Thank you. Just firstly, members, in regards to, you would have been circulated an update from historic buildings in regards to the posts that we discussed at the last meeting. 2 of those have been listed, and you'll note that the one that we had raised concerns about, or it was raised at the committee in regard to the location and the impact of the future roadworks. So just to be updated that has not gone forward as a listing on the basis that there was a connection made then with DFI about the detailing around that. So at this point, that has been held back and there was no listing confirmed. So just to let you know, any more detail on that, I'll keep you updated. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. There'll be something on your emails anyway about the others that were actually confirmed and listed. So just want to run through the late items now. We've only a small number this month. Item number 1, in regard to Maybrook Mews Pennyburn, we've got a number of photographs recently submitted and they've been circulated. Item number 2, we've received a letter of support from MLA Daniel McCrossan. And item number 8, we've had a submission from the agent Kevin Strahan. And at this point, that's all we have in terms of late items, Chair.
Okay, Maura, thank you. When is that point about? When is that just before the application starts?
Oh, yes. We've also received, as part of the submission with that last late item, some sensitive information and personal circumstance information, which we may need to move into confidential if members wish to discuss it. So it's just to alert you to that, and we'll alert you again at the start of that particular item in regards to how we manage that. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, members, that is chairperson's business for the moment anyway. I'm going to move on to item number 6. That's the matters arising from the open minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 30th of November 2023. Any matters arising? Yep, sorry, Philip, go ahead there.
Thanks, Chair. Members, you will have received an email on the 2nd of January 2024 just pointing out a couple of minor inaccuracies in relation to the minutes which had been approved at the full council meeting previously. And therefore, we just need to bring them to your attention now, record them into the meeting, and then that's the remedy of them done. So in relation to item P193 of 23, the reference, which is in your pack there to regarding policy options, paper removal of mandatory predetermination hearings, that wording would be deleted and instead it would be and local councils read protection. And then item P194 of 23 would be inserted, and that will read correspondence from DFI regarding policy options paper removal of mandatory predetermination hearings, and simply state the principal planning officer provided the above report in order to advise members of correspondence to the head of planning on 2nd November 2023 from the Department for Infrastructure, DFI, regarding a policy options paper on the removal of mandatory predetermination hearings. Members noted the contents of the above report. Item P194 of 23 will then become P195 of 23. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Members, going to move on now to item number 7. That's the again names of planning applications. Before we start, I'll give you the running order. That's number 1, number 2, number 8, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and finally number 3. That's the run order. Do you want that again? He's got that. Okay. Okay, so members, going to move on to first application, which is on our list, is number 1. That is LA11 2022-0978/F, and that is retention of a rear dormer extension to dwelling, and retention of amendments to elevations of previously approved applications at 20 Maybrook Mews, Pennyburn, Derry, and that's Malachy. Okay, Malachy, do you want to take it away here?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Item 1 is L11 2022-0169F as a full application for retention of rear dormer extension to dwelling and retention of amendments to elevations of previously approved applications L11 2019-0317F and L11 2021-0092F. The application is located at 20 Maybrook Mews, Pennyburn, and the recommendation is to refuse. The application site is located in 20 Maybrook Mews. It's an existing residential area located in a cul-de-sac off the Buncrana Road in the Pennyburn district. The area is characterised by semi-detached chalet dwellings from the 1980s. The application site has a semi-detached dwelling with a rear yard and front yard fronting onto the existing access road within Maybrook. The application site as built is shown here in the first photograph as the front elevation of the existing property. And these images show the existing rear elevation and the side elevation of the recently constructed rear return. This view is a view from the garden or the back elevation of the 20 Maybrook Mews, looking towards number 34 and 36 St Francis Terrace, which is an R residential area lying to the rear of Maybrook Mews. And this is views from the properties. This is from number 36 St Francis Terrace, looking towards the rear of the application site at 20 Maybrook Mews. And this is a view looking towards the site from number 34 St Francis Terrace. The application site has been subject to a number of planning applications in recent years, including applications in 2019, 2021, and a non-material change application. We had application for a 1.5-story extension, 2 low-profile dormers at a bay window to the front of the dwelling. Prior to that, in 2019, we had an application which sought the demolition of an existing detached garage and replacement with a single-story side extension with 1-story extension at the back and other elevational changes. We also had an application for non-material change, which was not accepted. This was the proposal for a box dormer to the back of the house, and this was relating to retention of works that were carried out with unauthorised works were carried out not in accordance with the previously approved applications in 2019 and 2021. Officers considered this not to be acceptable, and as such, the current application was submitted to regularise unauthorised works which were carried out, which were not in accordance with the 2 previous approvals. So just to give you an idea of the context of the site, we did 2019 application. As it says, was a side story extension. It involved the removal of the existing single story detached garage, which was in the driveway. So this was replaced with a side story. This is the front elevation showing the side story extension on the existing dormer bungalow. And at the rear, there was a extension to the back, shown here on the right-hand side. Subsequently, we got another application in 2021-0092. This application mainly dealt with changes to the front elevation, including to the addition of 2 box dormer windows on the front slope of the front roof, and the addition of a two-story front porch at the front of the dwelling, and some elevational changes and changes to the materials. And also there was some changes to the rear extension. So the current application, in terms of context, has been before members before. The application originally came in October 22. It was deferred for a site visit, and it was returned to council in November 22 with a recommendation to refuse. This proposal was considered, and members resolved to overturn that. Subsequent to that, and prior to any decision being issued, it was noted through representations that in the case officer report, an earlier drawing, an earlier iteration of a drawing was in the report, and this therefore was resolved to bring it back before committee. In doing so, there's been a number of other requests for amendments to the proposal in terms of what's been built on the ground. And as such, in October 2023, we received the final version of the elevations, as we believe are built on the ground, and we've resolved to bring that back before committee. So what's before you now is drawing number 02 revision 6, which was received on the 26th of October. Again, that shows the front elevation. And we also have another drawing received in October, and this drawing is the important drawing, which is the rear elevation, and shows the area of concern for officers in terms of our recommendation, as per our previous recommendation. As outlined, there was previous history on the site, so the existing extension, the rear return, shown on the right-hand side, had been approved, although slightly, what was built on the ground was slightly higher than what was approved in the previous applications. Officers, as outlined in the report, have no issue in regards to that. However, we do have concerns regards the dormer box extension to the rear, and we'll go into that in further detail in the report. So this is a section showing, looking towards the rear return as built in the site, as if you're in the garden of Maybrook Mews. And again, this is a similar section taking away the semi-attached dwelling that's attached to, so you can see the true nature of it in terms of the elevation. And again, this is an elevation looking back towards the property. And this is the floor plans is built on site. The policy context hasn't changed from October 22, and it's outlined in the case officer report. It's fair to say that the key policy consideration in this application is the addendum to PPS 7, which deals with residential extensions and alterations. There's been a number of letters of support submitted in relation to the application. These have been detailed and outlined in the case officer's report. They raise a number of issues in terms of the character, the quality of the proposed development, the relationship of the development with all our properties in the locality. And again, we've had a number of objections mostly from 2 properties, and they have raised concerns again, which are detailed in the report and considered in the case officer report. They deal with issues in relation to the unauthorised development which has been carried out in relation to the site thus far. The changes in the elevations, the impacts of the box dormer extension, scale, effect on the amenity of the properties, overlooking, character. Yeah, and there's a number of other issues raised again, and these are outlined in detail in the reports. The applicant submitted a design statement. This hasn't changed from the last times before you, but again, it sets out the rationale and the design, where he's coming from in terms of the proposed design. And he believes it fits in with the context of the existing site and the context of the character of the local area. So in terms of the plan assessment, as mentioned before, when we're looking at the rear elevation, officers' main concern relates to the dormer roof extension. The concerns relate to how it's viewed from St. Francis Terrace. Officers believe that when it's viewed, it is considered the box large dormer extension dominates outward views, and therefore we consider it as contrary to policy EXT1 of PPS 7. This dormer has 3 windows. They have a bathroom window which does have frosted glass, a light well window with frosted glass, and bedroom window which has frosted glass. I suppose it's important to say that at this stage we don't have a concern with overlooking, because the frosted glass deals with that issue. Our issue relates to the dominance or the dominant impact of the actual physical structure of the dormer roof extension that's experienced from the properties at St. Francis Terrace. And in support of that paragraph A31 of PPS 7, specific dominance is the extent to which a new development adversely impinges on the immediate aspect or outlook from an adjoining property, and neighbouring occupiers should not be adversely affected by a sense of being hemmed in by an extension. In this case, we believe that there's enough evidence there to suggest that this extension as built does have a negative impact, an undue effect on the properties at number 34 and 36, and this is down to the dominant effect of the extension. As mentioned, there's been some other alterations to the property, which were not included in the previous applications in the 2019 or 21 application. We did previously assess the impact of the ground and first floor flat roof extension with regards to privacy, overlooking and dominance, and consider them acceptable. We did acknowledge that there was an increase in height of this extension by 0.45 metres, but we didn't think this would have any detrimental impact on the amenity, as thus our concerns regards amenity remained the same from our assessments in 2019 and 2021. We believe the extension as built is acceptable in terms of scale and design, and will not detract from the appearance of the surrounding area. And again, that's the rear return we're talking about. In terms of privacy, as mentioned, there's no windows approved on the ground floor or first floor rear elevations. Again, this is the rear return we're talking about. There is a window at first floor looking back entirely into 20 Maybrook, but this will not affect the neighbouring properties at St. Francis Terrace. The distance from the rear of the ground floor extension to number 34 is approximately 10.5 metres, and the first floor to the rear of number 34 is approximately 14.43 metres. Given the context of the site, we think that's acceptable in relation to that element. There also was a few amendments in terms of what was built on the ground as compared to what was approved, and these related to aspects such as the external finishes and other minor alterations. There was detail provided in relation to the actual finishes on the ground, such as the Staffordshire blue brick and zinc cladding. Officers are consider these to be acceptable materials within the urban context. We believe that the alterations to the front elevation are acceptable in terms of the character of the site and the surrounding character of the area. And we have no objections to those. I suppose to reiterate and summarise, the main issue that we have in relation to the extension as built on the ground relates to the addition of the box dormer extension at first floor level. Previously in the other applications, this would have been a flat roof, sloped roof, sorry, as normal within a dormer property with Velux windows. We believe that the addition of this dormer and the relationship that it has with the properties at 34 and 36 St Francis Terrace would have unduly affect the amenity as a result of dominance on those properties. And therefore, we're recommending refusal on the grounds that it's contrary to policy EXT1 of the addendum to PPSM. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Molly, for the outline on that presentation. Members, we have one speaker who's online, an objector. It's Ms. Bridge O'Donnell. Bridge, you there? I can see you online here, but hello, Bridge.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Bridge. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much.
Okay, Bridge, you've got 5 minutes. Sorry, just if you want to just if you
Yeah,
want to,
that's no problem.
5 minutes to present to the committee.
That's okay. I just want to present my position. I live in 34 St Francis Terrace, which is behind 20 Maybrook Views. I've lived here all my life. I was born in this house. It's a family home. And in 2019, the applicant presented himself to me at the front door, saying he was going to convert the garage into a granny flat for his aunt, who presently lived in the house at that time. Obviously, things didn't work out that way because pertaining applications after that. The planning application LA 11-2022-0169F, which was submitted on the 16th of the 6th, 2022, following requests for plans, a senior planning officer, Sam McCracken, admitted on the 18th of the 4th, 2023, that no accompanying plans were submitted with the PhD. Notwithstanding the PhD dated the 26th of the 6th, 2002, was not uploaded onto the portal on the 26th of the 9th, 2002, 1 working day before the planning report was presented to the committee. In the interim, the case officer, Paul McAteer, on the 11th of the 8th, 2022, said that she submitted PhD on the same date. A request under the Freedom of Information provided failed to provide that information. I'm sorry, I'm just getting mixed up here. In relation to the application LA 11-2019-0317F, the PhD form dated June 2019, Section E is incomplete. It is not clear who owned the property on this date. Photograph submitted by myself, which was included in the Plan Committee report for attention of Plan Committee, page 8, has since been removed from the Plan Committee report meeting today. I have since today sent the photograph of the fence behind my garden. Can you please tell me now why the photograph was removed from the Plan Committee report? Hello?
Hello, sorry, I'm just sorry, it's a chair here, Mr. Donald. I'm just clarifying the point. I think that photograph may have been on the previous application. On the previous application, on the report presented to the committee on the previous application. So it may not be in this report because it's a different application that's come before the committee today for retention. Is that okay?
Not really, no.
Okay, can you maybe confirm that, if you don't mind, for the applicant, please?
Yep. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the drawing, which I think has been circulated to the members as a lit item, was a drawing that was taken, suppose contemporary of that time, was of the unfinished extension. When we're presenting planning committee applications to committee, we present the information. So all the photographs were updated because as officers visited this in preparation for this committee, the situation on the ground has changed and we now have a finished extension. We have included photographs from number 54 in the report and the
54?
presentation.
Okay, Malachy, thank you for that explanation. Mr. Donald, Malachy, the officer here, has presented that,
34.
and hopefully he's given that answer to you. But if you want to carry on with your presentation before the committee. Hello, Mr. Donald, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Do you want to carry on now with your presentation before the
Yeah.
committee now?
Yeah, I can indeed. If you give me the time, thank you very much for giving me the time. The garage which was demolished was not tight against the boundary. This is a matter for civil case as encroachment. You removed wired fence, I'm talking to the applicant now, and concreted your fence directly behind my fence, which is encroached. Point 4 of the plan committee meeting. Boundary has been removed, encroachment on my property in address. You place the support against my fence to keep it in place. Sorry, I'm going to go on to something else. Okay? In relation to application LA 11-219-0317F, the PhD form, June 2019, Section E is incomplete. It is not clear who was arrested. In relation to the photograph which I have presented and to the rear of my garden, the photograph clearly demonstrates the existing fence, which is marked in all drawings. Subsequent fence which the applicant erected and what appears to be two stories.
Excuse me, Ms. O'Donnell, your 5 minutes are coming to an end.
Okay. The 2 storage containers is in direct contravention what the plan permission was granted for. Development Officer report Jared Lynch, note date given. Jared Lynch states in report the scale, massing and design and exterior materials of the proposal are sympathetic to the built form and appearance of the existing property, would not distract the character of that property or the surrounding area. In addition, I would like to refer to the email dated the 4th of 6th, 2019 to Lionel Moyne, CC Jared Lynch, stating that as number 34 garden is elevated above number 20, the boundary fence high, and you would not really see the flat roof element. I'm done.
Okay, Mr. Donald, thank you. Thank you very much. If you just hold on there, and there may be some questions from members for you. If you wouldn't mind, thank you. Members, does anybody have any questions for Mr. O'Donnell? No members, no questions from the members, Mr. O'Donnell. So if you just want to just hold on there for a moment, I'm going to pass on now to going to ask members if they wish to ask the officer any questions. Members, do you want to go ahead? Okay, members, there's nothing in the chat there, only. So obviously there is an application before you with a recommendation. Councillor Jackson, would you like to come on there? Thank you.
Good Chair, and I suppose I had the benefit of I know this has been in front of the committee before, and I had the benefit of a site visit, and I can completely sympathise with what we've heard from Ms. O'Donnell. There's no doubt that there's an impact in her property in particular by the development at this site. But a lot of what we've heard is in relation to applications that have already been decided on, and what we're here to consider is essentially the dormer windows, and this came before.
Sorry, can I speak?
No, sorry, Mr. Donald. No, we've actually gone past that stage now in the protocols. The committee says that I can't bring you in. It's now that we've gone past that, and so it's now in a situation now where members are going to come forward with a proposal and put it on the floor. So unfortunately, I can't let you in, Mr. O'Donnell. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, go ahead, Councillor.
Thanks, Chair. We are here. The application in front of us is the retention of the rear dormer, and it was deliberated on and decided on, and a decision had previously the committee, a previous committee had taken a decision on it. I was part of that committee, and we disagreed with the officer's recommendation. Don't dismiss or don't argue that there is a dominant impact of that development, but the dominant impact are, in my view anyway, which was supported by the committee previously, was that the dormer itself isn't the dominant feature in this building, and I could understand the argument for dominance if we were talking about one of the earlier applications, but I couldn't support the dominance argument as part of this application on that basis. I don't agree that it is contrary to policy EXT1 of the addendum to PPS 7, and I know that was the position of the committee previously. And on that basis, I am prepared to propose that we don't accept the officer's recommendation and we approve the application that's in front of us. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson, for those reasons that you have given previously to the proposition. Okay. Somebody second that application? Councillor Gallagher? Thank you. Do you want to come on, Councillor Gallagher? Okay. Okay, members, there's an application to overturn the officer's recommendation, and that was proposed by Councillor Jackson for the reasons that he gave when he was speaking there. That's been seconded by Councillor Gallagher. So I'm going to ask Maura to take a vote on that. Thank you very much, Maura.
Thank you, Chair. This is item 1, members, and this is a proposal not to accept the officer's recommendation. Alderman Derek Hussey. Thank you. Alderman Keith Kerrigan. Alderman Kerrigan. Yep. Alderman Miriam McMorris, his apologies.
Apologies, Chair. I had to step out there, so I'll have to abstain in this one. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jason Bars also apologies. Councillor John Boyle.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Fleming.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Gallagher.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Christopher Jackson.
For.
Okay. Councillor Fergal Leonard.
For.
Thank you. Councillor McDade, his apologies. Councillor Rory McHugh.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Mooney.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick Murphy. Thank you. And Councillor Grace Renelis. Thank you. This one abstention, one against, and the rest clear.
Okay, members, that's 9 for, 1 against and 1 abstention. Okay, Ms Donald, that's the committee has come to their determination now. I'd like to thank you for coming today and presenting to the committee anyway. And unfortunately, that's the determination that's come from the committee. But thank you for your time anyway. We're going to
Thank
move on
you
to
for
the next
listening
application.
to me anyway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you now.
God bless.
Okay, members, thank you. Item number 2 now, LA 11 2022 1004 -0. Recommendation is to refuse, and that's for a site for off-site replacement dwelling, a new access onto Brook Road, Donamana. And Laura's going to do that. Thank you, Laura. I'm going to take it away.
Good afternoon, members. Application LA 11 2022 1004 application for an off-site replacement dwelling, a new access onto Brook Road, 50 metres southeast of 52 Brook Road, Donamana. The recommendation is to refuse. So here we have the site location plan and an aerial image of the application site. So as you can see, it's a parcel of land located on the eastern side of Brook Road, which is south of Donamana. It's a large site that fronts onto the road and then wraps around the existing site curtilage of number 52. It's located in the countryside as defined by the Strabane area plan and also in the Sperrin AOMB. So this is just some photographs of the application site. It sits slightly higher than the road level and is also a cutout of a larger agricultural field there. And the new dwelling is proposed in the southern part of the application site. This is the policy context under which the application was assessed. The RDS, the Strabane area plan, the SPPS, and there are the plan and policy statements 2, 3, 6, 15 and 21. In terms of consultation responses, there were no objections from any of the consultees. They've provided advice and conditions where necessary. This is outlined in more detail in the planning report. We've had one representation made, which was a letter of support, which has been circulated to members as a late item. Just to note that officers have assessed the application under PPS 21 and any of the issues raised and that representation aren't anything new that we haven't considered in terms of the officer report. So in terms of this application, as it's described as a replacement dwelling, policy CTY3 of PPS 21 applies. So it states that planning permission will be granted for a replacement dwelling where the building to be replaced exhibits the essential characteristics of a dwelling and as a minimum all structural walls are substantially intact. It refers to dwellings as buildings being those previously used as dwellings. So whilst we consider that this building is substantially intact, it doesn't exhibit the characteristics of a dwelling. The agent has provided support and information which is included in the planning report. However, we don't consider it sufficient to demonstrate that it was previously used as a dwelling. There are no domestic windows or door openings or any internal divisions evident. We note that there is an external chimney, but no internal evidence of a fireplace. The building's currently used as an existing store or garage, which is in domestic use ancillary to the dwelling at number 52 Brook Road. Therefore, in principle, we don't consider that this proposal is acceptable under policy CTY3 that this is not a dwelling which is suitable for replacement. Just to go on in terms of policy CTY3, whilst we don't consider it to be acceptable, we have to consider it under the remaining criteria of that policy and the other policies within PPS 21. CTY3 requires that a replacement dwelling is sited within the established curtilage. Unless there are any specific reasons to demonstrate that an alternative position would result in landscape heritage access or amenity benefits. So this, whilst we don't consider that this was a dwelling, and it doesn't have a domestic curtilage, there is sufficient space and scope within that section of the application site to locate a new dwelling. It's considered that the new dwelling would have a significantly greater visual impact than the existing building. The proposed siting of the dwelling and the access doesn't provide a suitable degree of enclosure, and the development will not visually integrate into the surrounding landscape and will appear unduly prominent. As you can see there on the site location plan, the agents indicated that the dwellings to be located just south of number 52. There's no vegetation other than this one boundary between the two properties. So a significant level of new planting will be required in 3 of the 4 boundaries, given that it's a cutout of a larger agricultural field. Having considered all of that, where officers consider that the proposal is contrary to policy CTY3, 13 and 14 of PPS 21, as well as policy NH6 of PPS 2. Just in terms of other policy considerations, considered that even though this is an outline application, there will be a significant separation distance to the nearest dwelling, so it's unlikely there will be any adverse impacts in terms of amenity. DFI roads have no objection to the proposal, and there's no area of flood risk identified in the application site. In terms of natural heritage, the building to be replaced, wasn't deemed to be suitable for roosting bats, and therefore had negligible bat risk potential, and no further surveys were required, which was outlined in the PEA and any DER content. There was some hedgerow removal, and there is a water course nearby, but neither NIA or SES had any objections, as long as there is a buffer provided to the water course. Just overall then, to summarise, it's not considered that the proposal meets any of the cases which would be permitted on the countryside, and there are no overriding reasons why this development is essential in this rural location. The building to be replaced does not exhibit the essential characteristics of a dwelling. The new dwelling would have a significantly greater visual impact than the existing building. It would not integrate into the landscape, and the new dwelling would appear unduly prominent in the landscape, and it would, as a result, adversely affect the character of the area and the A1B. Refusal is therefore recommended for the reasons that are set out in the report, and they're also here in the slide supply. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And we have an agent online to speak for the applicant, Mr. Joe McCormick. Joe, are you online there? Hello, Joe. Hey, Joe. Mr. McCormick? Hello, Joe. Joe McCormick? Mr. McCormick, can you hear me? Members, just bear with me. We're just checking something here. Thank you.
Hello? Hello?
So, Joe, you there?
I'm here now, yes?
All right, thank you, Joe. Well, we're just calling you there now, so I'm glad you came on there. You've got 5 minutes now to present to the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members and members of the planning department. Replacement dwelling 50 metres southeast of 52 Brook Road, Dunnamana for P&R Riddles. Reasons to approve. 1. Habitat regulation appraisal. When the planning department received the application for a replacement dwelling, it demanded a report in relation to bats, badgers, birds, etc. to be provided by my client. This report was submitted and the Shared Environmental Service have now concluded that this project would not have an adverse effect on the integrity of any European site. 2. Consultee's responses. The planning department consulted the following, among others, regarding the application: NI Water, Environmental Health, DFI Roads, NI Environmental Agency, Shared Environmental Service, Historic Environmental Division. All of these departments came back to say that they had no objection. No objections to the proposal for replacement of a dwelling on the site chosen. Representations. No letters of objection were received from any member of the public, which indicates to me that they are acceptable to the proposal. 4. Existing building. The planning officer reports that the building on site does not exhibit the essential characteristics of a dwelling. Policy CTY3 requires that the building to be replaced exhibits the essential characteristics of a dwelling, and at a minimum, all structural walls are substantially intact. The following is a list of the main features of the dwelling to be replaced. The external structure walls are substantially intact. The chimney is existing. Window openings can be seen in the rear wall. Windows and doors to front have been replaced by large sliding doors and concrete blockwork. You can see traces of the old fireplace inside, which has been partially covered by concrete to raise the floor level. The site curtilage is clearly defined by trees, fencing and walls which enclose the existing building. There is a laneway leading directly to off Brook Road which serves this dwelling and no other. We did not receive any request from the planning department to be allowed access into the building. I have shown photographs on my report and those were sent to the planning department. We've shown the front of the former dwelling with the chimney. We've shown the rear right window, jamb at rear left-hand window, the portion of fire above new floor level, trees for backdrop, site. The proposed site for replacement dwelling is in a corner of an adjoining field and has numerous trees along the road boundary, which will give excellent backdrop to a dwelling on this site. There is a 2-story dwelling on the other side of those trees, and no side of it can be seen, which shows that you could merge into the landscape. In planning terms, a dwelling does not have to be invisible in the landscape. There are trees and hedging along the side of the Brook Road when approaching from the south, which will help screen a dwelling from passing traffic. The site is in the lower corner of the said field, and this too will help create the enclosure necessary for the dwelling. The applicant would like to retain the former dwelling as a domestic garage shed to house his vehicles, tools, trailer, etc., especially as it is substantially intact. Item 6, conclusion. The above shows that an application has not been properly appraised, and the applicant asks that the approval be granted for a replacement dwelling on site as indicated. And Mr. Chairman, I would apologise for workmen in my office here who you may have seen on the camera. Just work is ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. There's no need to apologise. It's all right. Members, have you got any questions for Mr. McCormick? Alderman Hussey, go ahead there.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Commiserations on your recent family bereavement.
Thanks again.
One thing concerns me is, well, a couple of things. One, why not build on the site of the building that is being replaced? And two, is there any other site that is suitable within the farm property? And, you know, as to why this particular site? Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Go ahead there, Joe. Thank you.
Well, the building that's there is, it's a substantially intact building with stone walls and very historic. It's not listed, but nonetheless, it is a very interesting character. And certainly the client would like to retain that. He would use it as a garage and domestic store. And, you know, that would avoid the need then to build any new garage or domestic store. We have looked around the farm, and certainly there are no sites available as the farm is open fields with little or no vegetation around them. So to get a site as good as this, it's just not available, and we picked the best site on the farm. Obviously, he prefers to keep the old building as stated previously. So therefore, we would rather build on this site than anywhere else, as none of it is anywhere as good as this one.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Alderman Hussey, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Leonard, come on here.
Hello, Joe. I was just looking through the refusal reasons there, and one of the reasons states, you know, that the dwelling, proposed two-storey dwelling, will affect the character of the area. Can you tell us what you propose to do to ensure that the proposed dwelling wouldn't unduly be prominent or adversely affect the character of the area?
Yes, indeed.
Go ahead, Joe.
As I said, we picked this site because it was the best site on the farm. The trees are very mature trees on the northern boundary of the site. And as I said in my report, there is a two-storey dwelling on the other side of the trees. And you certainly can't see that at all when approaching the site from south. We would prefer to build in this corner of the field because it is the lowest corner of the field, and therefore again creating that enclosure that you need for the dwelling. The dwelling would be vernacular style, narrow windows, slated roof, rendered walls, and we would hope that it would blend in with the countryside, and no dwelling needs to be invisible in the landscape, and certainly this site would have all the aspects of a proper site to put a dwelling, which would not be standing out in the countryside.
Thank you, Joe. Any follow-up, Councillor Leonard?
No, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Joe.
Okay, members, I don't see any other questions for, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Gallagher.
Just, I know you identified a fireplace, but was there any evidence about it this building was actually lived in? Was there anything ever produced before, historically?
You heard that, Joe? Councillor Gallagher, was there any evidence of that being lived in the building? Thank you.
I don't know. I didn't look into that. When I saw the chimney and, you know, the windows, and then I looked for the fireplace, I couldn't actually see it until the client pointed it out to me, in that there was some concrete blockwork built up where the fireplace used to be. So to me, that shows that it was a dwelling, and the client believes that it was a dwelling before they purchased the land too.
Thank you, Joe. Councillor Gallagher, you okay with that? Yeah, thank you. Alderman Kerrigan, I see your Each put in the chat there, you for proposal item 2, but we're just currently at questions for the agent. Do you have any questions for the agent?
I have a question for the officer when it comes to it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, no problem. I'll come back to you in due course. Thank you, Alderman Kerrigan. Okay, members, I'm going to move on now. Thank you, Mr. McCormick. I'm going to move on now to questions to the officer. So thank you for your presentation. Just
Thank
hold
you.
on there.
There, Councillor Boyle, I'm on the chat box.
Okay, Councillor Boyle, that just came on there. Go ahead there.
Yeah, again, Chair, and similar to Councillor Gallagher's question, I don't see that any evidence has been presented here which suggests that it was a dwelling. I mean, I accept that Joe's telling me that there's evidence of a fireplace of some sort, but I don't see that evidence. That's not in front of me. So is there any electoral register that suggests somebody lived here before? Is there anything at all that would tell me that this was previously a dwelling beyond, obviously accept Joe has a professional opinion on this, but that's not in front of me. I don't see that, Joe.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle. Joe, do you want to maybe try and answer that question from Councillor Boyle? Thank you.
Yes, sure, thank you. Well, I did submit a copy of my report with photographs to the council, and Anne Tyre has that. So if she wants to pass that on to the councillors and the committee, I'm very happy for her to do so. It shows clearly that there were windows in the property. It shows clearly that there was a fireplace in the property, and the front photograph, the photograph of the front of the building actually shows the chimney on the roof. So to me, that's that's a dwelling, and I can't say anything else. I've in the past had approvals given or granted for dwelling that showed chimneys that were on buildings that were actually definitely not used at that time as a dwelling. But to have a chimney, to have a fireplace, to have windows, it must have been a dwelling at some stage in the past. I don't have anything in relation to rates or anything like that. I didn't look for that.
Thank you, Joe. Anyway, Councillor Boyle, are you satisfied with that answer?
Yep, that's fine. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Boyle. Okay, members, going to move on now. Questions to the officer. Any questions for Laura?
Chair.
Councillor Leonard, go ahead there.
Thank you, Chair. Just for me own information, is it normal practice that if you're doing a replacement dwelling, that the original dwelling is removed, demolished, whatever you call it, and what would be circumstances where the original would be allowed to remain as requested in this case?
Go ahead, Laura.
And so, Councillor, in terms of replacement dwellings, there's probably a number of different criteria. In some cases, the original dwelling will be removed, but if we considered it to be vernacular, for instance, we would expect it to be retained and the new dwelling to be incorporated into the scheme. So it kind of depends on the nature of the planning application. So I think that answers your question.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Councillor Leonard. Alderman Kerrigan, I think you've got a question for the officer.
Just briefly on that, and I suppose touching back to what Councillor Boyle and Gallagher have raised there. I did do a bit of hooking into this one here, and well, what I've seen there is this area, and I'm just touching. I suppose the question framing to Laura is it more the refusal reason here in regards to that it doesn't exhibit the characteristics of a dwelling, or that it wasn't a dwelling, is my question to Laura. Whenever I took a wee look at this is in the townland of Kilkenny, and that situation, or the footprint there, from what I can see, was referred to as Long Row, and would have been a row of dwelling houses or terrace dwellings, which would have served the flax mill, which was just opposite down the lane. And I have picked that information up from an ordnance survey map from the 3rd edition county series, and that's 1900 to 1907. So that's what I see that it was, from my understanding, because of its close proximity to the flax mill, that it was probably was used as dwelling houses for that. So that's just about information that I've hoped out and looked up. And as I say, it is freely available on the Ordnance Survey map there on the older editions. But it's more that question, and framing the question to Laura is it the case that it does no longer exhibits the characteristics of a dwelling, or that it wasn't a dwelling? That refusal reason's in there. Thank you. And then if there's nobody else, I can put a proposal, Chair.
There you go, Laura. It's a very specific question. You could maybe try and provide an answer for Alderman Kerrigan. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Kerrigan. So the very first point, and I suppose test of policy CTY3, is that the dwelling has to the dwelling to be replaced exhibits the essential characteristics of a dwelling, and as a minimum, all external structural walls are intact. And then it just goes on then to clarify that in terms of dwellings, it specifies that that's buildings previously used as dwellings. So that's kind of the primary test in terms of establishing the principle of a proposal. We have to be satisfied that it was evident that this was a dwelling and used as a dwelling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Keith, Alderman Hussey, do you want to come on there?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the officer as well. I suppose a bit like we've just heard from Alderman Kerrigan, I would have looked at the second refusal reason being the essential characteristics of a dwelling. I suppose, what are the essential characteristics of a dwelling? I've observed quite closely the photographs, and clearly the building has been repurposed. But having some experience of looking around old buildings in the rural area, this exhibits to me the characteristics when viewed from the inside, given the external has been re-rendered, etc. Viewed from the inside, it exhibits the essential characteristics of a dwelling. I suppose that's not a question, rather it is an observation on the back of the previous question. With regard to the third refusal reason, the new dwelling would appear unduly prominent. If I could ask the officer to go to figures 3, 4 and 5 in her own report. The first, figure 3, is an agricultural field showing the new dwelling. Would the officer agree that the ground rises from the road and would therefore provide a backdrop as opposed to allowing the dwelling to be prominent on the horizon? With regard to figure 4, would the officer agree that the trees, clearly there, and long established trees, provide a background for a dwelling in that particular location? And in figure 5, would the officer agree that from where that pole is, there is a substantial hedge line, which again, when travelling from that direction, provides coverage with regard to suggested prominence? In fact, I would suggest that a dwelling on this site will be much less prominent than the dwelling that we can observe on that particular figure 5 at the end of that particular road. So what are the officer's views then with regard to prominence, given the topographical situation of the site?
Go ahead, Laura.
Just in terms of, I suppose, the siting of the dwelling, so the roadside hedge possibly be retained, but I mean the other boundaries of the site there is that the application site cuts through the larger agricultural field, so that would require planting on that side. That hedgerow that is located within the curtilage of number 52 is outside of the application site. So I don't think we could condition that to be retained. So we have to consider, you know, in terms of the building, what it would appear like on the ground once constructed. And we don't consider that there's a sufficient degree of enclosure for a dwelling on that site.
Okay, thank you, Laura. I don't see anybody else signaling to come in, so thank you, Laura, for that anyway. Okay, members, there's a recommendation before these, and that's to refuse the application. Over to you now. I see Councillor Alderman Kerrigan wants
Thank
proposal.
you.
So Alderman Kerrigan, if you want to go ahead there, you can.
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in, and I'll try and rattle through this as quick as I can.
Sorry, just for cutting across, Alderman Kerrigan, but could you possibly do me a favour? And there's 3 refusal reasons. Could you maybe take them in order, just for the benefit of officers for taking notes? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, well, sorry, I was going to do 1, 3 and then 2, but I'll rejig it. Right, first refusal reason, CTY1, PPS 21, and regards to no overriding reason why it should be located there. I would refer back to the Staban Area Plan 123.2.1, the rural remainder. A less restrictive planning policy will be applied throughout this area, and applicants seeking planning permission for a single dwelling will not have to demonstrate a need to live in the countryside. In regards to the second refusal reason, CTY 3 and CTY 13 of PPS 21, the building does not exhibit the essential characteristics of a dwelling. And again, leading on to that, the new dwelling would have significant and greater visual impact and would not integrate. Again, referring back to the Ordnance Survey Map, County Series, 3rd edition, 1900 to 1907. My reading of it is that was it's known on the map as Long Row. It is dwellings. I believe it would have housed workers that worked at the flax mill, and probably children. There is Killenny School as well, just south of the site. So I'd imagine there were workers living in that house, working in the mill, and their children attending the school. So I would mind that it does. And again, given the pictures that I've taken, it has been altered, yes, but it does exhibit the characteristics of a dwelling, in my view. The visual impact, again, you're looking at, with the visual impact, it can be integrated. This is outline planning permission, so therefore I do feel that it can be integrated. There can be restrictions put onto it as the planner see fit, but integration can be accommodated. And in regards to the mature hedge just to the south of the site, and again there is a substantial mature hedging to the south of the existing the existing dwelling at number 52. Following on from that, again, the views from the site, which is across the valley on the Elm Road, I do feel that there is enough scope that the dwelling house will not be any more prominent than the existing dwelling house at number 52. And the third refusal reason, CTY 14, unduly prominent in the landscape. Again, I would state this is an outline planning application. Conditions can be imposed by the planners if they see fit. The hill rises to the east of the site, thus the site rises and it will not be unduly prominent. And views in the Elm Road, again, it'll be no more prominent than the existing house at 52. And then there's no more, there's more of a suburban style build up to the south of the site, along the Killenny, down by the old school, where there are approximately 6 dwellings and a close together in a cluster. So I don't feel that this will be change the characteristics by having a second dwelling there adjacent to number 52. So I feel that I have covered the 3 refusal reasons in that, Chair, if you are content. And I so propose that we do not accept the officer's recommendation to refuse the application. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Kerrigan. Just on one note there, because officers have asked me to clarify on mindful of the fact on the basis of the application coming forward. If there's any conditions that you have in mind for the citing of it, could you maybe advise us of them?
I am content that there's no conditions in particular, but if there's a certain condition that the officers feel is necessary, I would be content enough, but I personally don't feel that I have a particular condition. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Alderman Kerrigan, thank you for that. Alderman Hussey, go ahead.
Content to second.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Okay, members, there's an application from Alderman Kerrigan to refuse the recommendation, return the recommendation that's put forward by the officers, and that has been seconded by Alderman Hussey. Alderman Kerrigan went through the three refusal reasons extenso, and we've heard them all. So I'm going to ask Maura to take a vote on that now. Thank you.
Members, this is item 2, and it's a proposal not to accept officer's recommendation and no conditions offered. Alderman Derek Hussey. Alderman Keith Kerrigan.
Or Maura.
Apologies from Alderman McMorris. Apologies from Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor John Boyle.
Or.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Fleming.
Sam.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Gallagher. Thank you. Councillor Christopher Jackson. Thanks. And Councillor Fergal Leonard.
No.
Thank you. Councillor McDade's apologies. Councillor Rory McHugh. Thank you. Councillor Sean Mooney. Thank you. Councillor Patrick Murphy. Thank you. And Councillor Grace O'Neillis. Thank you. It's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you, Maura. Okay, going to go on to the next application. Just bear with me, member. Okay, members, next application is item number 8. Before we start, anyway, there's just 2 matters, and there was a late presentation of evidence from Mr. Strath there. Are you satisfied? Did you have enough time to look at it? And we can continue. Okay, acknowledge that. Also, members, this is the item where there's a personal medical report included in the members' packs, anyway, so it will be sensitive, to say the least, anyway. So during the currency of the application, if any of the members, any officers are looking to speak on that sensitivity and the public business, we will have to probably go into confidential just to protect the sensitivity of that information. So if anybody does stray in that area, we'll probably have to come on and just stop the proceedings and then go into confidential. Is that okay, members? Thank you. Okay, so it's item number 8, LA 11 2022-0978F. It's a recommendation to refuse, and that's for a proposed retirement bungalow located to the rear of 20 Steelestown Road, Derry. And that's Rosie. It's going to take that application. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Item 8 is LA 11 2022-0978F, which is a proposed retirement bungalow to the garden of number 20 Steelestown Road with a recommendation to refuse. The slide shows the site location outlined there in red on the slide on the left, and the garden area for the site is shown on the right. So the site location or the site layout plan here just shows the location of the proposed dwelling to the rear of number 20. And the photograph there shows the access position, which has been recently relocated onto Steelestown Road. The application's been considered against the policies shown here on this slide, and they're detailed in the planning report. In respect of the dwelling that's proposed, PPS 7 provides the policy in respect of assessing the quality of the proposed residential environment, and PPS 7 addendum considers the impact on the character of the established residential area. So as detailed in the planning report, the single-storey dwelling that's proposed, and it's just shown here in this slide, is acceptable in terms of its size, scale and design. It respects the local context, which is characterised by a mix of detached and semi-detached, single and two-storey dwellings. There's private or there's adequate private amenity space provided, and there's adequate space for parking within the site. There's adequate separation to neighbouring dwellings to avoid impacts on amenity due to overlooking, and existing vegetation in the site boundaries will be retained. Regarding density, it's considered that the proposed single-storey dwelling would not significantly increase the typical density found in the Steelestown Road area. And in terms of the location in the rear garden of number 20, this respects the existing pattern of development, which also includes backland development close to the site. And the dwelling size, as set out in PPS 7 addendum for a 2-storey single-storey dwelling, should be in the range of 60 to 75 square metres. And as proposed here, it's approximately 108 square metres, so it's therefore acceptable. There's also been consideration given to environmental considerations. You'll note from the report that there were concerns regarding connection to the public foul sewer, as NI Water had indicated a potential network capacity issue, but there's been an engineering solution agreed between NI Water and the applicant. And regarding natural heritage interests, existing trees in the boundaries are to be retained and further planting is proposed. So the development is unlikely to impact detrimentally on any priority protected species. So the reason for refusal, members, relates to achieving safe vehicular access to the site. And policy AMP2 of PPS 3, which is in relation to access to the public roads, states that planning permission will only be granted for a development proposal involving direct access or the intensification of use of an existing access onto the public road, where it will not prejudice public road safety or inconvenience the flow of traffic. So this slide just shows the recently relocated access onto Steelestown Road. The picture on the left there shows where the access originally existed, and this has now been moved further to the south. This relocation of the access was carried out without planning permission, and there have been 2 previous applications on the site for extensions to number 20, and these proposed no changes to the access which had previously existed. So DFI Roads have advised that the existing splays are 2 metres by 10 to the south, which is the critical direction, and 2 metres by 6 to the north. But displays of 2 metres by 35 are required in order to provide a safe access onto Steelestown Road. So the agent submitted revised plans which indicate that the displays which can be achieved are 2 by 35 to the north, but can only be, it's only 2 by 11 that can be achieved, 2 metres by 11 metres that can be achieved to the south. So this is an improvement over the existing or the previously available displays. However, the display to the south, which is the critical direction at 2.2 metres by 11 metres, falls below the standard distance of 35 metres stated in DCAN 15. So it's actually quite significantly below that requirement at only 11 metres visibility. The agent advises that for the applicant to achieve 2 metres by 35 to the south, permission would be required from the neighbour at 18 to remove an entrance gate pillar located just about here. Road Service have drawn attention to the statement in DCAN 15, which points out that reductions in visibility standards will not be permitted simply because the applicant does not control the required visibility area or does not have a reasonable prospect of bringing it under his control. So DFI Roads advises that the proposal will lead to an intensification of the use of the access, as an additional dwelling would lead to a doubling of the traffic using the access at 20 Steelestown Road. As such, improvements to the access geometry, including the visibility displays, is required. So the agent has advised that the proposed dwelling is for the applicant's parents who also live at number 20. The access in question is existing and already serves the existing property. It's envisaged that there will be no or minimal change to the number of visitors accessing the site, and members, you've also been afforded the opportunity to consider the information submitted by Mr. Strathern. So DFI Roads have offered a solution advising that if the access was to move 4 metres further to the north of this current position, then the visibility displays of 2 metres by 35 would be achievable in both directions. The agent was advised of the DFI Roads comments in this respect and offered the opportunity to provide amended plans. However, the agent advised that the applicant is unable to move the entrance as requested and the application should be progressed on the information provided. So members, unfortunately, we're having to recommend refusal, and it's on the basis of the refusal reasons set out in the planning report, which is that the application is contrary to the SPPS Planning Policy Statement 3, Policy AMP2, and that it would, if permitted, prejudice the safety and convenience of road users, as it would lead to an intensification of the use of the access, and it has not been demonstrated that visibility displays of 2 metres by 35 metres can be provided in accordance with the standards contained in Development Control Advice Note 15. Thank you, members. And just to advise that there is a representative from DFI Roads available for any technical questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary, for the presentation. I'm going to move on now to the agent and the applicant. Hopefully, Mr. Strathairn, are you online there, Mr. Strathairn? Kevin? Have a good day. Right. Okay. Thank you, Jan. Members, we have been having difficulties with WebEx all day. It's a new addition apparently, so there's been gremlins in the system, but bear with us. Thank you. Members, we haven't problem Mr. Strathairn, but he has confirmed that if members have received his papers today, they're happy to take a few minutes to read those, and that would be us, and that would be the committee actually reading his report and the evidence. Take a few moments anyway, and then we can move on. Then, thank you, members. Okay, members, obviously we can't put any questions to Mr. Strathnairn, so I'm going to ask members now if they want to ask any questions of Rosemary. Councillor Jackson, go ahead there. Thank you.
Chair, maybe not a question of Rosemary, but if there's the DFA representative this year, I know in the correspondence in relation to this application, it's the assessment from DFA that the intensification would be 50%. Given that there's, and I want to be careful here in relation to, because I know that we may have opportunity to be going to confidential to learn more information, but given that there's a medical condition that may restrict movements, but given that those that have been identified that will, the future occupants of this application, if it was passed, are already living on site, has that been taken into consideration in terms of the intensification test? Because if we're already living there, it's hard to get my head around how DFA's assessment is that the vehicle movements would be intensified by 50%. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Councillor, would you like the DFA official? Johnny, are you online there?
Yes, Chair, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Johnny, yeah. Have you heard that question from Councillor Jackson?
I have, Chair. Yes, certainly.
Okay, I was wondering, could you provide an answer? But just bear in mind that obviously there is medical information and it's quite sensitive. So if you do stray in that area, would you let me know and then we can maybe go into confidential? But if you're not, if you don't have to go in it and that deep, that's great, Johnny. But go ahead there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Jackson, for your query. Reading the KJS Architects late item submission, it indicates in the first paragraph that the elderly couple do not currently live at the address. They currently live in a 3-story townhouse. So hence the reason that they're looking to relocate to this location. That would be my first point. Secondly, council planning officials, the case officer, has previously advised for other applications that we can't condition tenure. So whilst it might be intended at this stage for the applicant's parents to live in the dwelling, we can't guarantee that. There's no way of confirming that going into the future or setting any sort of way of controlling that. So we have to look at it as a new dwelling, and as such that would create an intensification of the access. I suppose another comment just with regard to mobility. If there are mobility issues, it would lead to a greater reliance on car transport rather than non-motorised user transport. So that would be, it's not something that we took into account. We weren't aware of that at the time, but it would just be something to bear in mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that answer, Johnny. Councillor Jackson, do you have any follow-up?
Well, thanks, Chair, and I appreciate the response, Johnny. I think there was a reference in the case officer's report around the applicant living there, or the future resident living there, and that's where maybe that confusion came. But no, I appreciate the response. Thanks, Johnny.
Any more members wish to come on there, either for questions for Rosemary or questions for DFA for Johnny? Anybody online? Okay, members, that's fine. No further questions. As you can see, the application has a recommendation for refusal. Councillor Gallagher, yes?
Chair, I was probably looking to ask a question of the applicant. And just know within it is, there is an option of moving the entrance north. And why is that not possible? Like to see the report that we've been given as a very positive report for this proposal, except for the displays. And I was wondering why there seemed to be a reluctance, from the applicant.
Unfortunately, he's not online. He couldn't get online, but he's consented for us to move on the application. That's why we haven't heard from the applicant or or the agent. But would you, maybe, I don't know if maybe Rosemary could help you, if that's okay. Do you want to redirect it to Rosemary? Andre can help you here. Councillor Gallagher, go ahead there, Andre.
Thank you, through the chair. There's a piece in Kevin Strathairn, the agent's late item, and it just says, well, and has consideration that they have demonstrated that the entrance is much improved from the original entrance, as Rosie alluded to in the presentation. Sorry, but it's, yeah, so he's agreeing that it's, well, he's agreeing that it's not 2 by 35 or 33 visible displays. But what he is saying is it has higher visible displays in both directions than the original entrance had. It has higher visible displays than any of its neighbours and is considered a much safer access. We feel in these circumstances the access should be acceptable to DFI roads and planning, and that this application for the proposal for a retirement bungalow should be approved by the planning committee. So I suppose he's acknowledging, but he's saying it's improved from the previous access. It's not up to standard, but he considers that, given all what he's saying in his submission, that. So sorry, I just wanted to read that out in his absence.
Thank you, Andre. Councillor Gallagher, do you have anything further? Okay. Any more members? No. I don't see anybody indicate now. Okay, members. Well, there's no further questions. As I said there, there's a recommendation to refuse. I'm going to put it to the floor now. Anybody, any proposals in relation to this application? Do you want 5 minutes? I'll give you a few moments anyway, if that's okay. If you need to have a consultation yourselves. Thank you. Okay, folks, can we just come there and move on now? No, he's out anyway. Councillor Gallagher, go ahead.
No, I was wondering maybe it could be going to confidentiality meeting before we'd go look my proposals.
For what purpose, Councillor Gallagher? We've actually moved on now from the license and we're on to the.
Well, it's probably the concerns around that if there was material considerations being given.
You want to draw out some, is it medical stuff as well you want to draw on? Okay.
Versus the refusal reasons.
Okay. Do I need a proposal? You want a confidential? Yeah. Opposition, be seconder.
I'll be second that, Chair.
Can we go into confidential there, just, and you could let us know when you go in there? Thank you.
Chair, Councillor Boyle here.
Yes, Councillor Boyle.
Hey, thanks, Chair. Chair, would confidential suggest that anybody who isn't an elected representative would need to go into the waiting room?
That's right, Councillor Boyle. Yeah, we know
Yep.
that. That's been taken care of now at the moment, so it is. Thank you.